the weather forecast with Coloca and its multipurpose banquet hall, Il Palazzo.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the weather forecast, where we would have it really come throughout the nation with the coldest temperatures expected at Adamawa and the western region. So we would have temperatures between 15 to 19 degrees in the far north region and 11 to 14 degrees in Adamawa and west regions. In the center and south, we would have 17 to 24 degrees, 14 to 18 in the east, and 22 to 23 degrees in the south region. We now take you over to the northwest, where there would be a 0% chance of rainfall this evening, and by daybreak it will be the same situation with the highest temperatures at Wum and Dop. Next we go over to Adamawa region, where there would be no rainfall in the entire region this evening, and by morning it will be the same experience in Adamawa region. Lastly, we take you to Littoral region, where there would be a 0% chance of precipitation, and by morning it will be the same condition with the highest temperatures at Douala and Edea. So if you intend to use the Edea German Bridge tomorrow for your traveling, I encourage you to do so confidently. Thank you for watching, and do have a blessed night.
CAF President Ahmad Ahmads refutes he imposes his ideas and says he is visiting Cameroon to listen to the people and together with them take decisions for successful continental soccer events in 2020 and 2021. Cameroon is examining ways of giving a facelift to its public service accused of corrupt practices and influence peddling. Meet our guest, Minister Joseph Lay. And Minister Paul Atanganji tells regional governors that President Paul Biya wants safety and serenity before, during, and after the February 9 elections. The details now. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. The president of the African Football Confederation, CAF, says he is in Cameroon to listen and dialogue for the well-being of continental soccer, speaking shortly after he arrived at the Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport this morning and was received by the Fecafoot President Seydou Bombon Joya. Ahmad Ahmads dismissed allegations that he was imposing his wish for the CHAN 2020 and AFCON 2021 on host Cameroon. Boarding Sama reports.
He walks out of the Ethiopian Airlines looking visibly relaxed as Ahmad Ahmads, president of the Confederation of African Football, coming to Cameroon officially for the second time, is welcomed upon arrival by Seydou Bombon Joya, president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, advisor to the president of the Confederation of African Football, Anthony Bafoué, CAF's deputy scribe, and Michel Dissake, tournament's director of the African Nations Championship. After a few airport modalities, Ahmad Ahmads is led to the VIP lodge of the Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport, where other football officials were waiting.
It is my second official visit as CAF president to Cameroon. This time, it is for a walk-in visit with football actors in Cameroon to take decisions concerning the 2021 AFCONs.
Pour discuter, pour prendre des décisions sur notre compétition.
He comes to Cameroon less than 3 months to the start of the African Nations Championship with far-reaching decisions expected to be taken.
I am here to listen and not to give lessons. Together with the different stakeholders involved here in Cameroon, members of COCAN 2021, to take important decisions.
From the airport, Ahmad Ahmads, accompanied by his close aides, left for the Yaoundé Hilton Hotel that will serve as their base for the next 3 days, with important decisions expected to be taken at the end of his stay.
The 50,000 capacity Japoma Stadium is one of the stadia that will host matches of the 2020 CHAN and 2021 AFCON. The stadium, which was completed a few months ago, is said to be one of the best in the continent. Rene Kache reports from Douala.
This is the Japoma Stadium, situated at Japoma, on the outskirts of Douala and village of Cameroonian football great Albert Rojamila. Its imposing and aesthetic nature makes the 50,000-seater stadium one of the biggest and most attractive in Africa. Constructed by Turkish enterprise Yenigun, the stadium is embellished with modern technology and has been constructed with FIFA norms. Completed some 5 months ago, the Japoma Stadium prides itself as a major source of attraction. Its natural grass turf adds to the beauty of the structure. Its attractive green, red, yellow sails implanted on the imposing stands wows even the neutral observer from afar. The Presidential Tribune has a modern lift. Nearby is a well-furnished security control room, as well as spacious commentary booths with optical fibers for accredited press organs. Within the stadium are found air-conditioned press centers, 4 changing rooms for players and referees, an ice pool, as well as a medical center. The stadium also has a modern kitchen and restaurant, all ready for use. Just in front of the stadium are 2 training fields, a gymnasium and a multipurpose sports complex.
The president of the Football Commission at the International Military Sports Council has today begun a 2-day inspection visit to Cameroon in view of the Military Women's World Cup, which the nation will host later this year. Hence, Biggsman's visit began with a brief stopover at the Ministry of Defense. Jeffrey Abane reports.
True to its record-breaking spirit in sports, Cameroon shall this June become the first African nation to host the Military Women's World Cup. 5 months ahead of the tournament, the president of the Football Commission at the International Military Sports Council is leading a delegation from the body on a 2-day inspection visit of sports, hotel and medical facilities being prepared for the event.
I'm going to look at the field stalls, but also training facilities, security for the teams and everything that is involved in the tournament. My expectation is that Cameroon will do a good job, learn from the country in a cultural way, and I think that they will host a good tournament.
Today's audience at the Ministry of Defense was one for the Cameroonian authorities through the Secretary General at the Ministry of Defense, Said Kamsulum, to first express the nation's gratitude for the opportunity and then reiterate the unflinching commitment and efforts being invested to make the competition a success. 5 medical facilities, 6 hotels and 2 stadia, including the Yaoundé Omnisport Stadium and its annexes, as well as the Ngouaikele Military Stadium, shall be the principal focus of this inspection. The 2-day inspection visit shall greatly aid preparations towards the 8-team military women's showpiece, as Cameroon, in hosting the tournament, hopes to make Africa proud.
Experts and stakeholders in Cameroon's public service are meeting in Yaoundé to draw up strategies for a more performant and efficient public service that enhances government's action. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, who opened the 3-day colloquium today on behalf of the head of state, President Paul Biya, called for a public service which is the main driver of development in the country. Christian Chiatam reports that the colloquium is unfolding under the same modernization of the Cameroon public service, situation, challenges, and the way forward.
Cameroon has the midterm ambition of becoming an emerging country. Many conditions must be fulfilled for this objective to be attained. One of them is a professional and efficient public service, which not only enhances government action, but also pushes the private sector to create wealth. The 3-day colloquium, opened by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute and placed under the patronage of the head of state, aims at upgrading the quality of service offered to Cameroonians by the public service.
The head of state committed himself, amongst other things, within the framework of the Greater Opportunities 7-year term, to continue the implementation of decentralization, ensure good governance, modernize our public service and make it more effective. It is very hopeful that the basis to a lasting solution to issues cited above will be set.
For 3 days, participants in the colloquium, who are members of government, officials in charge of human resource management in different ministries, municipal authorities, university dons, and users of public institutions, will carry out a critical analysis of Cameroon's public service and identify shortcomings which need to be mended. At the end of the 3 days of deliberation, the government hopes to have practical solutions which will upgrade the performance of the public service.
Simplifying procedures, reducing processing deadlines, proximity to customers who have become true partners and even kings, reducing service costs.
The presentation of a book entitled For a Proximity Public Service, published by the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform, as well as the stands set up at the exhibition ground of the Yaoundé Town Hall to inform users on changes in Cameroon's public service, might just be echoing a new era for the public service in Cameroon.
Now, users continue to express their frustrations and loss of confidence in public service delivery in the country. To them, corruption, influence peddling, long procedures, and poor orientation impede proper career management. They are looking forward to the public service being constructed in Yaoundé to come to their rescue. Details with Emmanuel Avemnui.
The image of the Cameroonian public service in the eyes of users is marked by poor reception and orientation, the inability to give out information required, and the demand for payment for services which are supposed to be offered for free. Added to this is the perennial problem of the management of careers of civil servants and even administrative bottlenecks.
It is difficult to access those who process our files. It's been close to 3 years that my documents arrived at the Ministry of Public Service. There has not been any favorable response. Each time, they tell us to wait and wait.
Service delivery is slow. Access to information not easy.
There are many in their shoes who have lost confidence in public service delivery in Cameroon. But the National Colloquium on the Modernization of Public Service comes like that fresh water which will hold such administrative hiccups. 4 major areas are involved: the acquisition of tools that make digitalization possible, the revision of outdated texts and procedures, reinforcement of the capacities of those who use such tools, and the need to change the mindset of Cameroonians and push for good practices. The experts are in conclave. Their proposals are supposed to change the state's image. But how exactly? By implementing the recommendations and bringing all on board.
The first panel discussion at the colloquium was on the history, ethics, and responsibility of the Cameroon Public Service. Participants agreed that a change of mentality is imperative for a results-based public service. Rahanatu Sali reports.
3 intellectuals sit at the same table to deliberate on how to modernize and make more performant the Cameroonian public service. They all agree that for the public service to be at the service of the public, public servants and leaders must shun the wait and see attitude.
The new system obliges us to change our culture, to change our mindset, because in the new system, we need to be in a relationship between and with our users. If you are a chief, you don't need to only apply the norms or the law. You have to produce results. You cannot produce results alone.
Panelists at this colloquium argue that if the results-based management strategy must be adopted, then users of the public service must change their attitude and make the first step towards change. Understanding the ethics and responsibility of state employees for an emerging public service becomes imperative.
We have to introduce the results-based management in our administration. Our administration is not only the bureaucracy instead of apply the norm. Or no, we are in the administration to resolve problem and to attain results. And we have to be very, very open for this challenge. Yes.
The Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform is positive that such exchange is the first step towards making efficient the Cameroonian public service.
We're now receiving Cameroon's Minister of the Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Lee. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Moki.
Welcome home.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right, this is my home.
Yeah, you left us a few years back.
About 12 years ago.
Nice to receive you.
When I left this house, I'm pleased to come back.
Thank you, sir.
And it's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Now, the symposium is under the theme Modernization of Cameroon's Public Service, Situation, Challenges, and the Way Forward or Prospects. What should explain this type of theme at this particular context and time of the year?
Yeah, Moki, let me first of all say thanks to the head of state who has accepted to patronage this event, this symposium or colloquium, as you want. Let me also say thanks to the Prime Minister, head of government, who came himself to preside the opening ceremony. It was a pleasure for us and we have been honored. Now about the theme. The theme is very important for us today because we have no choice but to change, to adapt ourselves to the new situation. Because as you know, the modernization is going faster and faster. That's why it's important to sit down and see what have been already done and what we should do now. As you know, the head of state about a little bit more than 1 year ago, he said the digitalized society that is coming will not wait for those who will be late. We don't want to be late. We want to be up to date. We want to be on the move. That's why just after this speech, we sat down and we start working. Today, it's important now to try to see what have been done many years before and now. Try to see what have been a success, what have been a failure, then to see now how we can go ahead with more success. That's why we thought it's important to sit down and associate everybody. University lecturers, experts, and any other Cameroonians, even syndicates, to come and talk with thought. So what I can say is that this is a thinking time. For 3 days, we will be thinking about the modernization of our public service.
Now, I've noticed that it's under the patronage of the President of the Republic.
Yeah.
It is presided over by the Prime Minister, head of government, who represented the President. It suggests that the stakes are very high.
Yeah. Because, you know, the public administration is very important for the ruling of a country. It's very important because I hope you know that we manage about 260,000 civil servants. So it's important to know that we are at their service to render to them the best service we can render. And the head of state has always said that we must humanize our relationship between us and the users.
That's where the problem is, because you've been there for 2 years now, Mr. Minister, and you came with this administration of proximity. But the reports we watched, they still talk about corruption, they still talk about influence peddling.
Yeah, I think those who say about all of that, they are right. They are right. But I also think some of them do exaggerate. Maybe because we still need to inform our users. It's very important to let them know all what we are doing for them, to be well informed, to render to them the best service. That's why since about 2 years, we have been making efforts to go everywhere in the 10 regions, to bring there a CGPS. I hope you know CGPS, our system to manage the staff of the state and the payroll, so that where they are, they can have all the services. They are not now obliged to come back to Yaoundé. Yeah, that's what we are trying to do. But I'm conscious of the fact that there's still a lot to do. Anyway, we are devoted. We are determined. We must work again. That's why I always sensitize my collaborators, saying that we are here for them. So we must do everything so that they find satisfaction when they come to us.
Now, briefly before you go, the symposiums like this one, at times they end, resolutions are kept in air-conditioned offices in Yaoundé. Nobody cares that are going to be applied and so on. What assurance are you giving that after this, people will have a more performance, a more available, a more accessible public service?
Maybe I should anticipate telling you that after this symposium, I will myself go everywhere in the 10 regions once again to explain. Maybe I will also go with some other experts. Then they will explain to the users what we do and what are the expectations and how we try to satisfy those expectations. Because that's why we talk about proximity public service. Because when you are cut from the users, there's no dialogue. But when you go where they are, you talk with them, you listen to them, I'm sure you will be well informed, and you can come back and try to plan some activities that will go straight to their satisfaction. That's what we are trying to do, and I can assure you that we are devoted. We also already have some means to do all what we are doing, especially for the modernization of our public administration. Let me tell you that last year we have received an important amount of money from the head of state himself, who gave this money to us to modernize. We have acquired new equipment. We are also strengthening capacities of our collaborators, and we are also changing the whole system of information at Minfopra and communication.
Mr. Joseph Lee, before you go, just a few seconds. If somebody feels cheated, whom should he contact and what is the number?
He can also contact myself first, because I always give my phone number. Is no more obliged to come until Yaoundé.
Okay, what's the
That's
number?
why we have our website, www.minfopra.gov.cm. There's also my personal email address, that is joseph.lee@minfopra.gov.cm. I'm at their disposal. My collaborators are also at their disposal, so that at any time when they have complaints, they can write to us, they can call us. I can tell you that every day I receive many phone calls from the users. We try to give them satisfaction. But there's also a problem. The problem is that even when you have solved the problem, somebody is not informed. That's why I told you that we must continue to communicate. Because some of them wait for 6 months after the problem has been solved, because they don't have the information. That's why we signed some conventions with corporations that can give us all the means, so that at any time, even with short message, we can inform our users that, okay, your problem has been solved, your file is okay now. Tell us where we can send it to you, because it's no more obliged to come until Yaoundé.
Minister Joseph Lee, thank you so very much for coming.
It was a pleasure.
We have an opportunity having you on other programs of CRTV.
As you can notice, there's a lot to say about the public service.
Thank you.
Anyway, I hope you will see me next time.
Almost every Cameroon, we're always up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, on to other news items now. Cameroon's Prime Minister, head of government, Joseph John Gute, has received New Year wishes from 12 different delegations of his office. Today's event was the second of its kind since he became Prime Minister. Sisako Tamko reports.
The hallway of the Star Building, specially decorated with red carpet and flowers for the traditional New Year wishes addressed to the Prime Minister Joseph John Gute by 13 delegations. As prelude to the handshaking exercise, Special Advisor Professor Tuna Mammer was honored with the distinction of Grand Officer of the Order of Valor conferred on him by the head of state. The NEF Center of Government Activity, the General Secretariat, was led by Minister Secretary General Seraphine Magua Fuder, followed by Deputy Pascange Kante, 3 special advisors, and rank and file. Besides organizing 10 cabinet meetings, the department accompanied the Prime Minister in the preparation and conduct of a major national dialogue, a closely followed government economic program with the President's institutions, emergency program, major structural programs in varied domains, the youth special program, as well as monitor activities related to the preparation of 2 major continental football competitions this year and in 2021. For the first time, Director of Cabinet Balungeli Confiance Ebune led the staff of the Cabinet, the political arm of the Prime Minister's office. The Cabinet organized the Prime Minister's peace missions and other international outings, where he represented the head of state. Yengo Francis Disarmament Committee kicked off the handshaking exercise of auxiliary services, hopefully with determination to reinsert ex-combatants into the society. Peter Esoka led the Communication Council, poised to promote media gender balance this year. The National Governance Program was led by Deputy Coordinator Maître Some Eyo, while Permanent Secretary of the National Road Board, Mompen Matapit, led the council, whose plan is to finalize the definition of rest areas on the highway. Akam Vonda Moise led the Regulatory and Competitiveness Council that signed conventions close to 5,000 billion last year and will pursue investment geared at production in 2020. The phrase Happy New Year, Mr. Prime Minister was re-echoed by members of the Decentralization Board, with Herculean tasks ahead to oversee the deepening of the decentralization process in the new dispensation. The Technical Secretary of the Committee for the Organization of the African Cup of Nations also wished the Prime Minister well at the beginning of the year, in which their services are highly expectant. The Book Council was led by its coordinator. The Prime Minister's security was not left out of the ritual, neither the special press team assigned to the head of government. The Prime Minister's protocol concluded the exercise, which later was spiced by embraces and likely reflections on how they can assist the head of government accomplish the emergency vision prescribed by the head of state.
Administrative authorities have been instructed to implement the directives of the head of state calling for February 19 elections to be organized throughout Cameroon in safety and serenity. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, reiterated presidential instructions today while opening the Conference of Regional Governors for the first semester of 2020. Ebenezer Kanga.
The Conference of Governors for the first semester of 2020 is to take stock of measures put in place or envisaged to ensure optimal security of the February 9 legislative and municipal elections. Opening the conference, the Minister of Territorial Administration reiterated the firm directives of the head of state to administrative authorities.
Elections must take place in all over the national territory, that is, in all the 10 regions, 58 divisions, and 360 subdivisions. And this should be in complete safety and serenity.
The Minister of Territorial Administration told the administrative authorities to accompany and assist ELECAM in the successful organization of the elections by giving them necessary security cover, while recognizing the fact that those who choose to boycott the elections have a right to do so. Paul Atanganji warned that no one has the right to prevent the other from voting.
What we can never accept or tolerate are statements like, I will not participate in the elections, and I will do everything possible to stop other Cameroonians from exercising their civic rights. That is when the state will display its might against whosoever shall attempt to create disorder before, during, and after the twin elections.
The governors listened to presentations by the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Defense in charge of the National Gendarmerie and the Delegate General for National Security, all in a bid to coordinate strategies of ensuring total security of the elections.
If the general security situation in the country has to be reinforced ahead of the February 9 twin elections, special attention has to be paid to the crisis-prone Northwest, Southwest, Adamawa, and Far North regions. Kilandan Difon talked to the governors of these 4 regions and our reports.
Within the past 2 weeks, 700 gendarmes, unannounced elements of the police and the army, have been deployed in the Northwest and Southwest alone. But there is no alarm.
The security situation is globally under the control of the administrative authority. The security services, thanks to the increasing collaboration of the population, elite and living forces of the region.
The population who ran away some months, some years ago are coming back. So the situation in general is come back to normalcy. The population have understood that what the secessionists and their combatants who are still in the bushes were telling them was fake.
The Adamawa is just recovering from another form of insecurity.
We have curbed down the phenomenon of horses taking. People are going about their activities without hindrance. The next elections will be held without problem. We have reinforced our security targets with the forces of law and order, the community vigilance, and the living forces of the area.
And the far north is yet to put memories of the activities of the terrorist sect Boko Haram to rest.
We have a long border with our neighboring country, but measures have been taken alongside the border to secure the population, and they are good. The security situation in the Fano is calm and serene. As far as election is concerned, we held meeting in order to secure those elections before, during, and after.
The assurance is there, but ensuring security of persons and property is a continuous battle.
Finance Minister Louis-Paul Motaze has officially launched the 2020 state budget in Bafoussam with emphasis on the execution which honors Cameroon's development agenda. Highlights of the ceremony in the presence of top officials in the West region included exposés on tax innovations and guidelines in the control of the state budget. Clarice Aritakang reports from Bafoussam.
The February 9 twin elections, the reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest regions, the construction of the infrastructure to host the AFCON and CHAN competitions, and the acceleration of the decentralization process. It is within this context that the 4,951.7 billion CFA francs 2020 state budget will be executed. An unequivocal call for budgetary discipline as stressed by the finance boss, while officially declaring open the execution of Cameroon's state budget. No room for unnecessary spending and delays, but a commitment from all to ensure that the state's development target is met.
If you want to ensure that you will have a smooth application of the budget, you have to be sure that all those people who have to pay taxes should pay taxes and that they will pay those taxes. This is the first thing. The second thing is the expenses. All those stakeholders, everybody, it has to play his role so as to be sure that it's only the budget of 2020 that will be applied. This is a problem of discipline.
Innovations to consider this year include those related to taxes, a public contracts code, and the monitoring and control in the execution of the state budget. On the minds of authorizing officers will therefore be a 4% growth rate to maintain, keep inflation at 2.2% and budgetary deficit of 2.1%, thus creating conditions prompting revenue collection and spending to agree.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development has assured the population of Douala that emergency projects to decongest traffic will be executed soon. Minister Celestine Kecha-Coutes launched the projects estimated at 4 billion CFA francs and visited AFCON and CHAN sites in Douala. Cynthia Sapala reports.
It's the emergency projects prescribed by the head of state and launched by the minister that captivated the interest of the population of Douala. The projects in question include the roads in the neighborhoods of Lokpom, Lokbesu, Bepanda, Makepe, Ndokoti, known for their intense traffic density with commuters and vehicles alike often on a standstill for hours unending.
290. If rain falls, no motor can pass here. The road's too bad.
There was too much water. Then the road was not really nice. We are very happy. I want to say thank you very much.
As excavators and motor graders, even flat surfaces to lay the asphalt, the minister was on site to ensure works had begun and listened to the preoccupations of the population.
The emergency project that the head of state gave to population for more than 4 billion and 1 million to address Lokbeso case. For Lokbeso, we have a meeting next week. With delegate, we'll see exactly the type of work that we have to do to address this situation.
During the visit, other issues were raised by contractors, such as liberating the right of way and the need to resume work poorly performed on some of the CHAN and AFCON sites. In general, the minister expressed satisfaction with the indicators showing that the 11 projects within the framework of the AFCON and the 3-year urgency plan to boost economic growth will meet deadlines set for February 2020.
The recent strike action by PhD holders to protest their non-recruitment into the public service and what they called irregularities in the absorption process of 2,000 university staff ordered by President Paul Biya continue to dominate discussions in Yaoundé. Even though it has been called off and a compromise arrived at, many Cameroonians are of the opinion that there exist many other options for doctors of philosophy. Yoti Kali Lisonge reports.
Read their lips and you'll get the story. Some Cameroonians are yet to reconcile the fact that PhD holders were on strike due to unemployment.
Going to school, first of all, is not envisaging only a job. First is to broaden your mind. And in the course of broadening your mind, you can have other things that you will do at the end of the formation or the training.
To others, having a registration number in the public service is virtually the only option that the state has left doctors of philosophy with.
We are in a system which doesn't give other alternatives for PhD holders. Actually, only state universities can save them because it's their only hope for employment. That's the underlying problem. What is the state doing for them to have more opportunities?
All has not fallen on deaf ears, as the authorities say. More will be recruited as state functionaries. Yet, there are fears that it is really not a solution.
Cameroonians have the tendency to complain instead of working. After they are recruited, they will strike for scholarships and research grants. It won't stop there. Let the state train people to be autonomous, like in Singapore and Kigali, instead of a direct recruitment into the public service.
Others insist that it is not the only way out, as doctors of philosophy do have a basket full of opportunities.
I don't understand why today we are giving the impression that each PhD holder can teach. No, they can get into research. There is the Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation that recruits PhD holders, as they have just done with 1,500. There are other ministries too. They can also work in parastatals, and above all, self-employment, which people tend to forget.
Amidst diversified opinions, the fact is, the path a person treads after obtaining a PhD is a question of choice.
And that ends the 7:30 news on CRTV. Join Aden Bala at 8:30 for the news in the French language. I am Moki Edwin Kinzekan Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.